at this tomato patch. I think this is the prettiest patch of tomatoes we have had in probably 10 years. This first row is Romas. I use those to put up my salsa. Not sure what the second row is, but this third row that's over 6 foot tall are the hosstools. Man, this is all the rave. You have got to grow you some hosstools. Now, we usually pick them, or Greg picks them, because he doesn't like anybody in his tomato patch when they're a little bit pink. We'll usually get, once at the peak of the season, probably 2 good 5-gallon buckets of tomatoes every other day. We'll move these down to the house and I'll place them on a towel on a table and I'll keep an eye on them, and once I get a good amount ready, I'll process them. Look at that pink delicious. Now we're not carrying that yet, but we will be next year. So I'm going to show you today how I preserve these tomatoes. And so we're going to do a stewed tomato recipe. I'm going to show you how to water bath can them. Let's go to the kitchen. So we're going to preserve these tomatoes. I'll call them stewed tomatoes. Some people call them quarter tomatoes. We're going to give them a good rinse, get any of that debris off, cut off any bad spots. Some of them I actually have to take a brush to and scrub off some of the places where the leaves have dried on there. Now this recipe for stewed tomatoes is a great base for any pasta, sauce, soup, or stew. It's a wonderful way to preserve your excess harvest with minimal work. There's all kind of ways to do this. You can even add in other vegetables. I just like to have some with just plain tomatoes. They're best used in dishes that require like larger chunks of cooked tomatoes. Now we need to blanch these tomatoes to get the peelings off. And to me, blanching is the easiest way. Depending on the size, you want to bring your water to a boil and put 4 to 6 tomatoes in there and watch them until you see that skin split. Usually about 30 seconds. See how that skin starts splitting there? Now some people take them and put them directly in some ice water to cool them off and stop that cooking process. I don't. I just place them on a towel. By the time I get through peeling all mine, the first ones are ready to core. And then that peeling just slides right off of there. Make sure you cut off any blemishes, any spots. Sometimes the bottom has a little spot on it you need to cut off. But this is so easy to peel. And I like my work area a little bit lower, so I'll put 2 pans in my sink, one to catch the peelings and one to catch the peeled tomatoes. Just makes it a lot easier. Now making canned stewed tomatoes is one of the easiest canning recipes out there. The most cumbersome and time-consuming part is peeling the tomatoes. Although you don't necessarily have to peel them, it's highly recommended. It improves the consistency when adding the stewed tomatoes to other recipes. So once they're peeled, I just simply quarter them, and then I will chop up with a chopper. You do not have to do this. You could just simply put these quartered tomatoes in your jars. I like mine chopped up just a little bit. Just makes it easier on the recipes that I use it with. The other items you'll need for this recipe, besides the 40 medium large tomatoes, is 16 1-quart mason jars with screw bands and unused sealing disc, a water bath canner, a jar lifter, a canning funnel, a non-metallic bubble remover, a large saucepan, lemon juice, and canning salt. And this recipe is can be preserved with a water bath. Now, if you added other vegetables to this, it would change the acidity, and then you would need to pressure can it. But if you're only doing tomatoes, water bath is fine. Now I'll put this in I just use my pressure canner boiler, and you want to cook these tomatoes, bring them to a boil, and then let them simmer for about 30 minutes. And be sure to stir the entire time. If you don't stir, they will scorch. Now, the tomatoes have trace amounts of protein in them, and when you bring them to a boil, this can appear as foam. To avoid this, you would simply not boil your tomatoes unless the recipe requires it. If you just simmer slowly and watch closely, the foam will go away on its own. It's not harmful, it's just not pleasing. But I was raised to always skim the foam off, and I am a creature of habit, so that's why I do it. I did prepare my mason jars prior to getting started, and I just sterilized them in my canner boiler. According to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, it's not necessary to sterilize the jars when canning tomatoes that will be processed 10 minutes or longer in boiling water. But again, I'm just a creature of habit. If it's something I'm not doing in my pressure canner, if I'm just water bathing it, I will wash these jars in soapy water and then boil them in water for 30 minutes and sterilize them. I do add 1 teaspoon of salt. This is for flavor only, totally optional. And then I add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Ladle the stewed tomatoes into your jars using a funnel so that the mixture doesn't get all over the top of your jars, and you want to leave a 1/2 inch head space. Now, going back to the lemon juice, you want to use the store-bought lemon juice because it has the same level of acidity from bottle to bottle. When you use fresh squeezed lemon, it's not always guaranteed that you get the same level of acidity. Once you have them in your jars, you want to take something and debubble, preferably not a metallic utensil. Just get any air pockets that might have gotten trapped in there. Then always wipe down the rim of each jar with a damp paper towel to ensure none of that stewed tomatoes is in contact with the rim. Place your lids on, and I do warm these up. Do not boil these rims. Place your clean lids on, finger tight. You don't want to apply pressure, just use your fingertips to tighten up the screw bands. Then you're going to place your jars in your water bath canner, and you want to have at least 1 inch of water over the top of those jars. And once it starts boiling, you're going to set your timer for 20 minutes. So I ended up with 15 quart jars. So once they're through processing, use your jar lifter and carefully remove them, and you want to let them sit on your counter for 12 hours undisturbed. After 12 to 24 hours, check your seals, wipe off any residue, and last, and very important, label the jars and store in a dark, cool cabinet for up to 1 year. I hope you enjoyed this canning video. Please leave any questions in the comments. If you have any different recipes, please share with me. Thanks for joining me today.